there, thanks a lot for coming by. PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard. And boy, I'll tell you, of all the posters I've blogged, very few are as historic as this one. Wow. Allan Freed's Moondog Balls. What a series of seminal rock and roll events. 1952, the year here, when Freed was a DJ in Cleveland, Ohio, broadcasting, of course, R&B records and blues and country records, and using the term rock and roll in its infancy. In fact, Freed is sometimes called the father of rock and roll. So, besides the radio show, Freed helped organize these seminal Moondog Balls in the Cleveland area in northeast Ohio. Now, mostly or all of the performers at these balls were African American, so the crowds largely matched that. But Freed was Mr. Crossover, as surely you know, being white himself, of course. He just loved cross-pollinating musical styles and genres, and therefore the races. He really did help bridge the gap of segregation among young teenage Americans. And that especially happened after he moved his radio show from Cleveland to New York City 2 years after this. Matter of fact, here's a lovely original cardboard promo poster, and of course this is a photograph of it, from Freed's Cleveland days. Look at that, the Moondog House. Isn't that clever? Nightly at 11:15 p.m. to 1 a.m. on radio station WJW, Blues, Rhythm, and Jazz. And lots of hip language on there, and local record store tied in for co-sponsorship. So, you know, like everything else I've ever video blogged, this is a totally original vintage artifact printed in the spring of 1952 to advertise an event on the first day of summer. And man, does it ever live up to the descriptor boxing-style concert poster with its look and its feel, doesn't it? Kind of like, you know, all that's missing is a picture of a couple of boxers. It would definitely be just that. But, you know, speaking of no pictures, none of Freed's Moondog Ball posters had photographs. I'm going to show you a couple more in a minute. And I'm sort of wondering if maybe that was to keep race out of the equation, you know, not show the skin color and stuff. I'm guessing it certainly couldn't have been for financial reasons, because a lot of these Moondog Balls were held in, you know, big ballrooms and arenas holding 10,000 or more. In fact, take a look at this. Yeah, here's a photo from one of Freed's Moondog Balls, and you know, you look at this and I just don't think they'd cheap out on advertising, especially given only the few dollars difference between a poster with and without photographs. That's why most concert posters of the early 50s did have pictures on them. So there's nothing more basic than red, yellow, and black in advertising posters. You know, the two colors that are most attractive to the eye, and basic black to get the information across. Speaking of information, there it is, the screaming red headline, Moondog Moonlight Ball. Now, Freed, interestingly, had picked up the term Moondog from a quirky instrumental record called Moondog Symphony, and it was created by a New York street musician named, yep, Moondog. And so later, when Freed got famous and moved his show to New York, of course, he was sued by Moondog and had to stop using the term. But this poster here was 2 years before that, before the Big Apple move, and found Allan Freed and his concert in McKinley Heights, Ohio, near Girard. You can see that in the black information there in the middle of the poster. Boy, McKinley Heights, I'll tell you, population, about 1,000 people. A small town, absolutely. The Avon Oaks Ballroom in McKinley Heights, near Girard. And to give you some perspective, McKinley Heights is there with a red marker, and you can see where it is in relation to Cleveland in the upper left corner. So continuing with what is basically the venue box here, you know, the black print, it says Saturday night, June 21st, dancing 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So that's pretty much keeping with Freed's pretty late radio show. Now, interestingly, I do call that the venue box. I don't know if this was a tour blank, you know, that was used for a couple or a few weeks, or a template just used for this weekend. But here's a picture of the concert poster from just the exact night before this. Friday night, June 20th, in Akron, Ohio, 50 miles to the west of McKinley Heights. And as you'd expect, being only one day different, everything's identical except what's in the black box. You got a different venue and city, of course, one night earlier. Dancing was the same hours. But look, they do tell you where to get tickets. At Dot's Record Shop in Akron. So then you've got the three musical acts on there in red, and I would say the stars of the show, but really it was the scene that was the draw more than anything. It does say in person featuring these sensational stars, in person again. The Swallows, King Recording Stars. King Records, of course, being a very important R&B label. And the Swallows had had one national top 10 R&B hit, Will You Be Mine, the year before, and they were just launching their second one, Beside You. And then that would be it for the Swallows. Edna McGriff, creator and singer of Heavenly Father. Well, that was a spring top 5 R&B hit for the girl from Harlem, and I call her girl because she was just 16 years old. And then lastly, Buddy Lucas and his Band of Tomorrow. Well, Buddy's was the house band at Jubilee Records who had backed up Edna on Heavenly Father. And look, it's another black box down there, but this one was a constant on all the posters, I guess. I mean, I don't know if Freed set up remotely at every show, or just some of them, but, I'm guessing probably all of the Moondog Balls. So it says in that box, the Moondog Radio Show, with Allan Freed in person, broadcast over WJW, direct from the ball. Wow, how fun is that, right? But it wasn't done just for fun. It was probably a totally necessary ingredient for creating the scene that was the centerpiece of all these dances. As a matter of fact, take a look at this photographic evidence. Wow, what a great photograph. There he is, just a perfect action shot of Freed, and WJW on his microphone stand there. By the way, this shot might actually be from the year before, 1951. But look at that rapt, all-black audience. Boy, you talk about one picture being worth 1,000 words. And then you've got that fun wording on either side of the black box. Look at that. The most terrible ball of them all. That's great. And then advance sale tickets, $1.50, including all taxes, and at the door, $1.75. And then the necessary poster printing credit down there in the bottom white margin. It does say Smith & Cetron, Cleveland, Ohio. So before I close out today, the Moondog Balls did go on for several months in 1952, at least poster-wise. So let's take a really quick look at those. So exactly 3 months earlier, you had the very first one, the Moondog Coronation Ball, often referred to as the world's first rock concert. And then 3 months after the poster I'm showing you today, the fall of 1952 now, Moondog Harvest Moon Ball in Youngstown, Ohio, starring the boss of the blues, Big Joe Turner. And then a completely different kind of poster in mid-October, standard 14 by 22 inch size here in this case, from Canton, Ohio, the Moondog Halloween Ball, with that interesting witch graphic and black and orange coloring, and down at the bottom, like them all, it does say Allan Freed in person and his WJW broadcast. If you know your rock and roll history, Allan Freed as a concert promoter would peak in 1958 with his Big Beat Tour, featuring Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and then he would eventually be done in by the payola scandal. But boy, what fun to show you this stuff from his very earliest days on the concert tip. Very historic. Thanks a lot for dropping by, and we'll see you again for something soon. Bye-bye.